So one of my subscribers recently asked me why do I not care about oxalates, and here I want to present my list for why I, so to speak, don't care, even though I do care. I mean, I heard about oxalates, I'm aware of the issue, I'm aware of the scares, so let me list my reasons. So reason number one is a cheap reason. It is that I don't have direct or indirect non-apparent symptoms that may be associated with problems with metabolizing oxalates. I checked them all. I checked some in-depth things that again are not typically would be considered associated with oxalates. I don't possess them, so this would be an easy out, but let's keep going. So reason number two for why, let me bend my fingers. Reason number two for why I do not care about oxalates is the fact that I actually don't eat so much of super oxalate-rich foods, such as like spinach, chards, those like tops of the beets. I don't eat rhubarb or things like that. So things that are very famous for having notorious amounts of oxalates. And when I say oxalates, it could be here and further. I guess calcium oxalate is the one that's point of concern. Those crystals, because oxalate itself is just an ion. So it's not a molecule even. Yeah, I do not eat so many foods that are very rich in oxalates. And the greens that I do eat, they typically carry a lot of calcium. I eat calcium that pacifies oxalates in the GI tract, and so they get eliminated, or they get, again, going to reason number three, oxalates break down in our gut. Basically, there is specialty bacteria that are called oxalobacters that break down oxalates, allowing to extract the minerals that they bind to. And so they produce the enzyme that breaks down calcium oxalate and whatever other metals oxalate ion could bind to, whether it would be magnesium, zinc, or other metals. So oxalobacters are the specialty bacteria, but all lactobacillus are also, not all of them, but the whole huge class of them is also aiding in breaking down the oxalates, allowing everything that we need to get absorbed and everything that we don't need to go get wasted with the waste matter, eliminated with the waste matter. So, and what do we know about the raw diet? Raw diet consists of huge amounts of bacteria-friendly fiber. We eat a lot of fiber. We eat probiotic foods, no, and fiber prebiotic foods as well. So with that in mind, it is likely that biodiversity of our microbiome, given that the diet is adequate, is pretty high. So chances are there are indeed bacteria who will break down oxalates without letting them go into the bloodstream and do all the mess that they would do. And here's reason number four. Reason number four states that I keep the gut health in check. The thing is that, yes, in the gut, oxalates can get broken down and get eliminated, or they can actually go into the bloodstream. They can go to the bloodstream if person suffers from leaky gut, perforated gut, from IBS, all those conditions that make it possible for large molecules, for things that are not supposed to cross the gut membrane. Those conditions enable those substances to go into the bloodstream, and that's where all the havoc happens. So I try to keep my gut health in check, and again, consumption of high amounts of fiber helps with that. Raw diet helps to eliminate almost all disturbances associated with dietary violations. And again, having good microbiome, being on the diet that is essentially inherently anti-inflammatory helps with that as well. The only things, of course, we need to keep in mind such thing as lectins, because lectins can unlock the pores in the gut and cause some molecules or assemblies of molecules to cross through the gut and get into the bloodstream, triggering immune responses. But again, eating cashews only for special occasions, trying to soak them before consumption, then limiting the consumption of milled tomatoes because most of lectins in the tomatoes are contained in the skin and the seeds, and we usually don't digest them anyways. So these things, and then also, of course, abuse of chemicals, stressing out, and things like that. Other things that may contain lectins, we usually soak them, sprout them, which causes removal of lectins from those foods, so they're not point of concern. So those things are important. Yeah, gut health is kept in check, and raw diet aids in that as well. So oxalates do have chance to actually get broken down in the intestine instead of penetrating into the bloodstream, ending up in soft tissues and cartilage tissues and kidneys, and where they tend to create problems. Then, as I mentioned, kidneys, let's say that oxalates actually passed into the bloodstream, which actually happens because we don't only have exogenous oxalates, the calcium oxalate, we also produce oxalate ions as a result of ascorbic acid breakdown in the body. So as we metabolize vitamin C, we produce oxalates that are in our body. And then there's also, of course, we need to mention that there's genetic disorder that causes our body to produce excessive amount of oxalates that our body is unable to break down. So this is absolutely separate topic. This is very rare genetic disorder, so it's not even worth mentioning. But yeah, if we talk about the oxalates that actually end up in the kidneys elsewhere in the body, what happens there? So if we focus on the kidneys, let's say, small particles of oxalate, calcium oxalate, they actually get successfully removed with the urine. You need special conditions for the large crystals to grow that form kidney stones and so on. So what are those conditions? Actually, with calcium oxalate is one type of stones, precipitation things, the precipitated crystals that can grow on joints, kidneys. There's also, of course, uric acid stones, and that cause also arthritis and stuff like that, problems with joints. What I found out is that uric acid actually catalyzes formation of calcium oxalate stones as well. So even though on its own uric acid can lead to formation of those stones, it also catalyzes calcium oxalate stone growth. And the other thing that I found out is that pH of the urine is related to the dynamics of growth of the calcium oxalate crystals. In particular, more acidic pH of the urine, it's conflicting information, but what I found some article, I will put it in the description box as well. pH around 5 of the urine promotes growth of calcium oxalate crystals, like those sharp ones. And as urine becomes more and more basic, you tend to form rather like some phosphate clumps, particles, that are also, again, they're round in shape and they get removed with the urine really easily. So pH of the urine and presence of like high levels of uric acid, they enable growth of calcium oxalate crystals. So why I'm talking about this? Because acidic pH of the urine as well as uric acid aggregation in the body are typical for people with animal products present in their diet. Especially, of course, if we talk about people who eat processed foods, sugars. This is also predecessor of developing high uric acid levels. And the most hell of a combination for uric acid aggregation is meat that contains lots of purine, so it's red meat, organ meat, plus alcohol. This is the worst people can do for that. And so people who eat meat and drink alcohol, they are the candidates for developing gout, and even in the young age. So, and plus again, kidney stones and all those problems. So if we look at the raw diet, which is antithesis of consuming lots of animal products and consuming processed foods, then, and plus also actually vegans, people on plant-based diet tend to have more alkaline or basic pH of the urine, we say that it also removes this risk factor for developing calcium oxalate stones. So this is another interesting aspect that makes me calm about oxalate issue altogether. So these are the reasons that I found, and yeah, leave something in the comment if you know more, if you can argue my point, and add resources where we can all read and enrich ourselves on this issue, because it may be interesting for people. And of course, people who transition from highly processed food, maybe it will be worth mentioning that jumping onto raw vegan diet straight from the high processed, high meat content food diet may require to actually slow down on consuming foods rich in oxalate, calcium oxalate, because your body will be already inflamed. So you will have some inferior tissues that will probably be more prone to taking up the crystal seeds, promoting the growth. So you would probably want to eat more fruits, vegetables that are low in oxalates, and then gradually increase the amount of those foods as you cleanse, as your body restores. So this is maybe worth mentioning. But other than that, raw plant-based diet seems to be actually helping to prevent issues associated with buildup of calcium oxalates, and no, let's put it all in one pie, uric acid stones. So these are things that make me comfortable with that, and here I will say bye.